And good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening to you. I'm here with you, what I hope you feel grand and always burn your world. Yes, your eyes do not deceive you, everybody. I have an Ibanez Gem Jr. You'll see more of this on Friday when I do a video on it. But at this point in time, my God. I before we get to the questions today, everybody, I'll tell you what, I'll save it all for Friday. I'll explain Friday. So anyway, enough jibber jabbering about the gem, which I love very much. Let's get to question one today, everybody, of A&Q Wednesday. So question one today is, every guitarist strives to find their holy grail sound/tone. Do you believe you found yours with your MGs and your Strats? If so, when did that light bulb moment happen? And was there factors like leads and strings? But are you still searching? Okay, so yeah, no, I'm not still searching. No, I am totally happy with my sound. Certain things will come and go, but there are mainstays: Marshall Governor, Boss DS2, Jackhammer, Tone City Golden Plexi. Before that was a Tube Screamer that did the job but didn't work with the DS2. So I was always, until I found the Jackhammer worked and the Golden Plexi worked. Yeah, I was a bit kind of like, I was searching for that elusive John Frusciante pedal, because the Ibanez Tube Screamer worked, but it didn't work well with the DS2, and it didn't like the Ibanez Wah either. So when I found the Tone City Golden Plexi and the Jackhammer, that search stopped because I found it, and that's why I always recommend them. Distortion wise, yeah, I mean, as soon as I found the Governor and the DS2, that stopped. When I found the Vox wah wah pedal, and the Ibanez WH10, I stopped looking for a different wah wah pedal. Amp wise, yes, the MG. As much as I love my Katanas, my Fenders, I've got Voxes now, all my amps, as much as I love all my amps to pieces, the MG is my home. The MG is the amp which I judge all others by, and the amp that I try to make all others sound like, if that makes any sense. The sound I have with these things is what I try and make this sound like, or make this sound like. You know what I mean? My number one MG that I've got in my room that I've had since 2004, that's my number one amp and always will be, bar none. It's like my white Strat, it'll always be my number one. Even though I don't play it, play it much. I play it tons. As much as I don't gig it, that's what I wanted to say. As much as I don't kind of gig that guitar live anymore because my fear of it getting stolen or something happening to it, because I play pubs, you know what I mean? Someone could just knock it over, it could smash it, and it just freaks me out. Because of that, because I don't gig it anymore, but it's still always going to be my number one guitar. That is always my number one guitar. It's much the same with the Zoom G2, always been number one. But yeah, I mean, I believe I found my sound many, many years ago when I found, when I got my MG. I was my first ever MG, again, it sat just literally above us. That was my that was my first amp where I was like, that's me. That's what I want to sound like, because it sounded like John Frusciante, and it sounded like Jimi Hendrix, and it did Mike McCready, and it did Peter Green later on. It did Rory Gallagher, or Gallagher, sorry, and it worked. You know what I mean? It just worked. And since then, whenever I dial in a new amp, as soon as I got my Orange or the Katanas, as soon as the way I dial them in is what I do is I just set them up next to my first ever MG. And I just A-B between the two until it sounds like that MG. So the EQ I have on all these amps, the Fender, the Katanas, the Orange, any amp I've got, they're all cross-referenced to my number one MG. Even these MGs. That one there is cross-referenced, and also the one in the intro jam that I used is cross-referenced with my first ever MG. All my amps are basically tonal clones, if you will, of my number one MG with my pedal board. That is what I want my amps to sound like, because it's sound I'm so accustomed to now, and I don't feel the need to change it. You know what I mean? For a long time, like I said, not for a long time at all, actually. When I got my MG in 2004, I've been playing guitar 3 years. I started in 2002, so I've been playing 3 years. And as soon as I found that MG and plugged my Zoom 606 into it, I was like, that's what I want it to sound like. Because this is my second ever amp in the world here, this little Carlsbro. Well, it's not little. And that sounded great, but it's got a real clunky mid-range to it. It's really clunky, like supremely clunky. Whereas the mid-range on the Marshall was a lot smoother, warmer, and not so in your face. And that was immediately that. I mean, the first thing I played on my Marshall MG when I got it home was Pretty Little Ditty. And I was like, that's the sound. That's exactly the sound that I want. So I was like, okay, wicked. So, and because I'm a creature of habit, I'm one of those people who are like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, and again, same thing with the settings on my pedals. As soon as I found a setting I liked on the pedals that just sounds the way I want it, they don't move. You know, same with the EQ on the MGs. The EQs don't move. You know what I mean? I have a set EQ for pedal boards. I have set EQ if I'm going straight in, and I go to them. And other than that, they don't shift. You know, I'm a long way from where I was when I was experimenting with sounds and pedals and different kind of things. That light bulb happened the moment I got my MG. As soon as I got the MG, I was like, that's me. Amp-wise, done. Tonally wise, I know it. I've always had, weirdly enough though, to be perfectly honest with you, I've always had a very clear mind to what I want my guitar tone to sound like. And it's always been that idea of when you're on the neck pickup, it wants to be really smooth and singy and violin-like. You know, really kind of like, you know, flowy, and it sings. I had no idea how to achieve that back in 2003, 2004 when I came upon this. That's what I want. I had no idea how to achieve that. And when you go to a bridge pickup, I want it to be kind of stingy but still bassy, but still retain a little bit of warmth. You know, fat. I wanted it to be big. So I got that sound, that idea of that sound in 2003 when I got my first Zoom pedal, my 606, and my Carlsbro. Well, I actually got the I did get the Carlsbro in 2003. And then I was kind of like, no, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do it. It's not quite there, it's not quite there. Then I got a Behringer V amp, and that didn't do it either. And then I got the Marshall MG, and that was it. Away we go. You know, no problems there. And again, the MG is my home. It is my tonal home. You know, as much as I love all my other amps in the world, the MG is the amp that I know inside and out, bar nothing, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Like, I just know the sound of that amp, and I'm so happy with the sound of that amp. I just do not feel the need to alter anything. You know, and again, once I find a setting I like on these things, I don't alter them. You know, the setting on my Boss Katanas is the same as it was when I first got it. The setting on my Fender Stage here is the exact same setting I had on my other Fender Stage that I had way back in the day. And same, weirdly enough, the settings on the Carlsbro, I actually wrote them down. They're written down on the front. I don't know when that must have been 2003 I wrote them down on that. So, yeah, they're written down on there because that's the setting I use. And again, consistency is the key to me. I like, again, another reason why I love Solid State so much is, like I say, it's just that consistency of sound where no matter what happens day to day, I like my Marshall MG upstairs and that Marshall MG and this Fender Stage and the Katanas and the Carlsbro and these Vox amps here, they all sound the same. Whereas when I had my Marshall Plexi, it didn't. You know, it was inconsistent. And the same thing with the Harley Benton amp as well. What's it called? The Tube 15. It's behind us there. I plugged into that the other day and it sounded like cack. I hated it, so I immediately turned it off and I went to a Fender. Just because it just sounded fizzy and crap. Sounded great the other week, but yet the other day when I went to it just sounded rubbish to me. I didn't like it. I mean, it wasn't a bad sound, but to me, I couldn't get on with it. You know what I mean? It was like, no. And I hate that inconsistency thing, and it drives me up the wall and back down again. I recently got rid of the JTM 60 as well for that reason alone. The JTM 60 was actually the most consistent valve amp I've ever owned, but I still had no desire to use it or keep it because it still had that wibble thing to it, and I don't like that. So yeah, I mean, my tonal journey has ended years ago. It ended in 2004 as soon as I found the Marshall. It took a little bit more of a step in 2005 when I found that I like using overdrive channels for my pedals, and that was it. And it hasn't changed since. That is literally the only other switch. And then obviously recently, pedal-wise has changed from my favourite fuzz pedal being the Electro Harmonix Double Muff, which has been my favourite pedal since favorite fuzz pedal since 2007. Yeah, I tried that pedal in 2008. Sorry, I do apologise. I first tried that pedal in 2008. A friend of mine called Arnie, he said I should try this fuzz pedal out, and I loved it. Funnily enough, Arnie's the bass player in the Vaselines. So, but he was my housemate in London. Anyway, and he gave me the double muff to try, and I was like, this is amazing. And I loved it, and I bought one. I had the big one initially, and then I got the Nano. Joe bought me the Nano for Christmas or my birthday, and I thought the Nano sounded better, so I sold the big one and kept the Nano, and I've still got that. And I'll never get rid of it. But then recently with Hubcap John's Sundial, I was just like, holy S word, that is the fuzz. And I just don't feel a desire to change it now. Like, it'll have to be really something special to change that fuzz, because it really does what I want it to do, and it sounds the way I want it to do. It reacts the way I want it to. So yeah, I mean, it takes a lot for me to really kind of like experiment. The same thing with guitars. I'm not a person who will tweak pickups or action height or intonation or truss rods. If it ain't broke, I don't. If it's not if it's not acting out, so to say, I'm not going to fix it. If something breaks, obviously you change it, and refrets, obviously. But I'm not one of those people who tweaks things. I hate it, to be honest with you. I hate tweaking. I cannot stand it. It drives me up the wall. I am much more of the brain pattern. I just want to play. I don't want to have to think about this, that, and the other. I will just make it work, regardless of what it is. It's just that and through that I've gained a lot of experience in kind of like, getting my sound. I know how to get my sound out of pretty much anything that I come across, amp-wise, depending on what it is. I'm a lucky sod. I've been able to play a lot of things, so I'm a lucky git. But again, it's all experience, and it's all it's all important. But I don't modify guitars. I don't feel like modifying guitars. I have dabbled. I have dabbled. This guitar here, the Joe Strat there, that has been messed around with, but because there's not much of that guitar that's original now. But there's not much of that guitar that's original now because when I got it, most of it was knackered. The original neck is gone. It was just a wreck. The original neck is gone. It's actually been binned. It didn't work. The truss rod was broken. The frets were. It was a crap neck. It was crap. So we've got a better neck on there now. The pickups are original. The pots are original. All the gold hardware is original. It's got different neck, different scratch plate. And it did have different pickups in it for a while, but I've recently put it back to original, but the middle pickup has just died. So I need to get inside and figure out why, because I did Wilkinson pickups in that thing and sound great. But I like that scratch plate on that guitar. And plus it's a nitro finish and it's all checked and broken. It's ace. But really, I don't like tweaking guitars. If something breaks, I'll try and fix it. The Tokai, for instance, when I got this, when I was given this guitar, the middle tone pot died really quick. I don't know why. It just packed up on me. So what I did is I took it out and I wired it so it's a master volume and a master tone, Rory Gallagher style. And I actually prefer that, to be honest with you. I reckon that's a better wiring for a Strat, having a master tone like the Gem here. But yeah, I don't feel the need to tweak anymore. I don't feel the need to look for things. I like trying things, don't get me wrong, but I know what I want out of them, and I know immediately if something won't work. You know what I mean? So I'm not after tweaking my sound anymore. It came along in, my first kind of inkling was when I got my MG in 2004, and then 2005 I realised running my pedals through the dirty channel and keeping the gain low made me even happier and gave me that smooth, warm, violin-y tone I was after. The clean channels never gave me that. Apart from the Carlsbro and the Fender, they're probably the only amps I own. Yeah, they are. They're the only two amps I own, I believe. I could be wrong, because the Voxes aren't really clean. But they're the only two amps really where I run my pedal board into the clean channel and I'm a happy little bunny. So it's a bit weird. But other than that, I use overdrive channels. So that was like kind of a little revelation. So those were the two light bulb moments: the Marshall MG and then the using pedals through the OD channels. But again, that is amp dependent. But most of the time, that's what I do. I've turned up to gigs where I've had backline supplied, and there might be like a Marshall JCM 2000 now. I've had a couple of gigs where I've had JCM 2000s, and I immediately go for the OD channel, OD1. There's been a couple of gigs where I had to plug. I plugged into a high watt once and immediately went to the distortion channel of the high watt. Worked. What else have I tried? There's loads. Fender amps as well. I mean, if they're an older Fender amp and they're just clean, I tend to struggle, but it's not anything major. Because I get my sound from pedals anyway, so it's not really a big deal. It's just finding the right EQ, which again for me most of the time is treble all the way down. No treble. If there's a mid range, turn the mids up. If it's the right mids, because there's the wrong kind of mids, and then turn the bass up and just kind of go from there and just use the pedals. But invariably, I don't really have to tweak my sound. I don't really like tweaking. Like I said, it's just not for me. I like things. I like things stock. I don't like messing around with things unless it really needs to happen. Like for instance, another example of tweaking would be my first ever Oswald that Nick made me, the 50s John Strat, the 55 clone. It had Seymour Duncan SSL1s in it initially, and I just didn't like them. Initially they were great, and then as I lived with them and gigged with them, I was like, these aren't giving me what I want. They're just not. It's just not, the sound wasn't there. And no offense, I thought it was ruining the guitar. And when I got the Evil Sheep pickups, the 55 Evil Sheep pickups put in it, I realised that the Seymour Duncans were ruining the guitar. And since then, those Evil Sheeps are just like unreal, absolutely unreal. I love them pickups in that guitar so much. And so I've got them in. I've got some Evil Sheep Experience pickups as well in my Jimmy Strat that's on the wall there, and they're insanely good as well. But and again, that's another example of me tweaking. But again, that's because it was a Squier Affinity. My Jimmy Strat was a Squier Affinity, and I find Squier Affinity's pickups to be very hit and miss, more miss than hit. They're not like the Bullets where I've had I've had 3 of these things now. I played 4 of them though. The other one was Joe's. I didn't own that. That was Joe's. She had for a while. But the Bullets seem a hell of a lot more consistent with their pickups than the Affinities. The Affinities are alright, but they're so hit and miss. I've played so many Affinities where the pickups are thin and naff. In all fairness, I've actually only played 2 Affinities where they sound good. And again, one was Joe's and the other one was the Affinity that me and my brother bought, which is technically my second ever guitar. But me and my brother put in money to get it. But yeah. But back to the point at hand, Davey. I mean, everyone does strive to get their own, for that holy grail sound. But I found mine in the MG, and like I say, when I dial any of these amps in, they just go head to head with the MG upstairs, and I want to get these to sound as close to that amp as I humanly can. Any amp that comes my way, Fender, Boss, Vox. Whatever it may be, I want it to sound like my MG. I want it to sound like that MG up there, my number one, the Fish. But no, I'm not searching anymore. I'm not. I like to try things, but I'm not searching for anything for my setup. You know what I mean? The way my pedal board is right now is perfect. The way my amps are perfect. The amps I've got are perfect. Although I get annoyed with the high Benton because it's just inconsistent. But again, that's me. That's just only that's my little stupidity thing. That's nothing. That's not the amp's fault. That's just my personal preference. Because the amp itself is wicked, but personally for me, I don't like its inconsistency. But that's me again. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't. The Libel moments 2004, 2005. And yeah, as soon as I found my MGs and Strats and the pedals, Tone City Golden Plexi, Jackhammer, Governor, DS2, Ibanez Wah, Vox Wah, Line 6 HX, Zoom G2.1U, and Ditto Looper. That's me. These are the pedals that, if they broke, I would just buy another. I wouldn't go out and try and find something that replicated it. I would just go and find another and buy another. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be after, I might try this one instead. I'll just go and buy a replica. You know what I mean? I'm not interested in changing things. You know what I mean? I like things the way they are. The way they work for me and the way they make sense to me. So yeah, I could talk about that for hours, and I have spoken about it for quite a bit. So I'm going to move on now to question 2. So yeah, I hope it's answered your question. I could talk more, but people of the tube, if you want to see more on that subject, let me know in the comment section below. If you want me to elaborate a little bit more, let me know in the comment section below. Okay, so question 2, everybody. Moving on. How do you protect your ears at live gigs? I use just earplugs, just normal everyday foam earplugs. and I've used them forever. I found very early on that my ears are super sensitive, and they are actually super. I went and got them tested, and they're really, really sensitive to loud noise. It's why I struggle. It triggers my panic and anxiety attacks if I'm in a really noisy place, because it gives me kind of like a sensory overload kind of thing. If it's too loud, if things are too loud, then I can't actually function. Like my brain just kind of goes, and I was kind of like, oh, I don't know what's going on. I just go lose my mind basically. I remember going to is it Music Live? I can't remember. It was like a guitar trade show, music trade show in the Birmingham NEC years ago. And it was so noisy. The moment I walked in there, my head just started swimming. And I just was like, I can't think straight. And I had to kind of keep my panic under control. And after about an hour or so, it calms itself down. But if it's noisy, I have to wear earplugs because my hearing is super sensitive and I can't function well, even if it's a noisy restaurant. Like if we go out for a meal and it's noisy in a restaurant and there's clinking plates and lots of people talking, it triggers me to get panicky, and I kind of can't cope very well with it. So what I do is I carry around foam earplugs. They're just run of the mill, I get them from B&Q, and what I do is I don't actually insert them into my ear canal. They're the ones that you roll up, put in your ear canal, and they expand out. What I do is I basically kind of like position it. Here you go. This is I position it in kind of like my ear, so it blocks my ear hole, but sits kind of like the top of the earplug kind of sits into the top of my ear there, so it's kind of like long ways in my ear. So it doesn't cut out all the noise, but it just lowers everything to the perfect amount. And again, this was years of experimentation to find out what worked and what didn't. And I found if I just kind of like position them in my ears, so it just covers the ear hole, it just kind of like gets rid of that. It works out really well for me. It doesn't kind of like it doesn't cut out all noise. It gives me and also a really cool thing is it gives me the ability to actually hear myself singing without monitors. Because most of the gigs we do, we play pubs, and some of the pubs we play are that small. You can't get a monitor in front of you, so you have to go by what you can hear. And sometimes, you're not near the PA speakers to hear them, so you have to just kind of like go off what you can hear in your head, so to say. And having an earplug in, it's why you see people sing and they put their finger in their ear, because you can hear your head voice. You know what I mean? You can hear it in your head. That's the wrong term for head voice. There's different terms, but you know what I mean? I can hear it in my head, and that gives me the ability to tune and gauge where I am. But I'm not a very good singer, so it doesn't really matter about that. But I do my best. At least I can carry kind of a tune. That's all that matters really. As long as I can carry half a tune, all as well. But yeah, I just use normal foam earplugs, and again, like I said, I don't actually insert them into my ear canal. They're just literally in the end of the domed end of the earplug is literally just kind of sat in my ear hole. Every time I say that, it just makes me want to laugh. You blooming ear hole, David. Sounds like a really weird insult. Anyway, I'm such an ear hole. Okay, so anyway. But yeah, that's what I use. Just normal foam earplugs, and I'd say basically just like put them in my ear, so they just kind of just cover, and it just works out nicely. I'd never insert them all the way into my ear, and plus I don't think that's a really good idea. I've seen people do that, and I've never seen that's a good idea. But yeah, and again, I can't play a gig without them. I can't go to live music without them. I can't really go anywhere loud without earplugs because it just gives me sensory overload and causes me to panic, and so I have to be really careful because sometimes it can just make me lose my mind, and that's not fun in any way, shape or form. So yeah, I have to be careful and always wear earplugs, and everyone should always wear earplugs. Never ever, you've really got to protect your hearing. Never ever play loud without earplugs. Which again, when I play upstairs, when I do intro jams or do guitar video, demo videos and this and the other, I am not loud. You know what I mean? If I raise my voice, you can hear me. You know what I mean? I don't play loud. I can't play loud because of, like I say, my ears won't let me. The videos where I do play loud, I've got one coming soon, which you'll see soon. The videos where I do have to play loud amps is I just wear earplugs, and that cuts it down nicely. So yeah, so that's what I do. I say, and again, I recommend it. Everyone should always wear earplugs. Never ever don't. It's really not a good idea. It's really not a good idea. Always wear earplugs. You know, it takes a bit getting used to if you've never done it before, but it's really, really super important. So important. You know, do not take your ears for granted. You know what I mean? They will not take it. They will not take the punishment of a 2-hour-long gig and be okay at the end of it. You know, you've got to be careful. And I remember like doing gigs like many a time with the trio, because the trio are a loud band, man. We play loud, but which is the way it should be. You know, with Marshall half stacks and bass half stacks and John Joe on the drums. We like to play loud, and you know, not stupidly loud, but there's been many times where we played gigs loud, and my brother on bass and John Joe have gone, "That was stupidly loud. My ears are ringing." I'm like, "Yeah, mine aren't." I can be all smug about it because I wore ear protection. Anyway. Also, going for ear checkups is a good thing. Regular ear checkups. I mean, I did that for a while. I think that's a good idea. Just keep an eye on your ears. I had a problem with my left ear one time, and I was like, freaking out because I was like, oh, my hearing's gone. It felt like it was just like a blockage because I'd had a cold, and it was, luckily. And he said, oh, your ears are in good condition. What do you do? I said, I'm a musician. He's like, what? And I was like, yes. These little victories, you know. Anyway, it just made me feel like I was doing something right. Anyway, which is nice for me because I think I'm always doing everything wrong. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I use to protect my ears, and everyone should always wear ear protection. Really important. Really, really super important. Okay, so moving on to question 3 now. Question 3 is a Boss Katana 100 Mark II a good idea for my second ever amp? I think you'll know what I'm gonna say to this. Oh yes, of course it is, yes. Totally convinced now that my Mark II was faulty. The one I played for at Anderton sounded insanely good, and the Artist Mark II sounds insanely good as well. So there's definitely something wrong with mine. But yeah, definitely. The Mark II Cat 100, you can't go wrong. They're so cool. So cool. I mean, I'd recommend them. I do recommend the Cat to anybody because they're so cool. They're cool cats. With a K though, not a C. But yeah, they are. I mean, I would recommend the Katana, definitely. Yeah, for a second ever amp, I mean, in all fairness, you won't need another amp. You really won't. The Katana can do everything. Especially if you get the foot switch, the GAFC. Is that what it killed? The K switch. That'll do. The K switch. I'm just going to call it the K switch from now on. I'm not even going to bother trying to name it. The K switch. If you get the K switch, then there's nothing you can't do with that thing. It's perfect. Really is perfect. I mean, even the Mark 1s with the K switch are just ridiculously awesome. But yeah, so yeah, highly recommend it for your second ever amp. And by the way, question 3, you sent me a picture of your drawing of John Frusciante. That was insanely good drawing of John Frusciante. Wow. I was going to reply an email, but I thought I'll do it in person. Your drawing of John Frusciante in that picture is insane. That is so good. It's yeah, awesome. Awesome picture. Awesome picture. So I thought I've got to mention that in the video because it's so good. So yeah, get the Katana 100 Mark II for a good second amp. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. You know, you'll struggle to find better. You really will. Okay, so yeah, anyway, okay, so final question of everybody. Question 4. Question 4 is, can you talk about the gentleman in the picture that makes it into so many of videos? You are referring to my friend Charlie. Yes, I mean, I have a video on Charlie. I did it a while back. I don't want to talk about... I love talking about my friend Charlie because he is not only one of my biggest heroes, and I'm going to try not to get... I'm going to try and not get upset here. But Charlie is one of my biggest heroes in life, music, and in general. And he makes it into so many videos because he's such an influence on me, and it breaks my heart that he's no longer here, because there's not a day goes by that I don't go, oh, I'd love to have done a video with him. You know, I would love for you all to have met him. And it breaks my heart that can't happen. Absolutely breaks my heart. And I miss him. Ridiculous amounts. But yeah, he's called Charlie Sylvester, and he's one of the most awesome human beings I ever got to meet, and I was lucky enough to he was my friend, and that meant everything to me, and still does mean everything to me, and always will, and that's why he's there on the wall. He's watching over me, and yeah, it really hits me hard when I have to talk about him because of what he meant to me. It's not a subject I can approach without getting emotional about it. Because even now, just thinking about him, it's really hard to kind of like acknowledge that he's not here. And I just wish he was. Yeah. But yeah, Charlie Sylvester. I've got a video on him and talking about him in length somewhere. I don't know when. I don't know if it was last year or at the beginning of this year. I did it. I don't remember when it was, but yeah. Sorry everyone. Yeah, I miss him so much, and there's not a day goes by that I don't think about him or he doesn't come up, and you know he's on the wall in the room because I can kind of feel him there, and he's on the back of the headstock of the Red Oswald, and you just wherever I go I want that picture of him. It's actually it's actually a kind of a booklet I got when I went to his funeral. That's the booklet we got given on him and his life, and he was in a disco band in the 70s called the JALN band, which is just another lonely night it stands for, and they got on top of the pops and stuff, and he was just like one of the most awesome, humble, perfect human beings I've ever met. And like I say, if I could just bring him back, and I would. And I wish I could. I really do. It's just one of those things where you know it can't happen, and that makes it worse because you just really want that, and it's hard, man. It's a hard pill to swallow, that is, and I'm sure we've all got somebody like that in our lives, and the sad thing is at some point we will have somebody like that in our lives, and I just it's weird. It's like everything. So many things remind me of Charlie. I mean, the guitar in general reminds me of Charlie. Bob Marley, obviously, and because he was a big Bob fan. And the Fender Stage reminds me of Charlie so much because this is the amp unfortunately not this one, but the Fender Stage I had was when I first got up and played with him, and there is video footage of this on YouTube on the Broombusters channel. The first time I got up and played alongside him, I used the Fender Stage, and the second time and the third time I used the Fender Stage, and then I used a high watt, and then after that I used the Fender Frontman. But and then I used a Marshall Master Reverb and stuff, but and a couple of others here and there. But this amp is Charlie would have liked this amp because it does that reggae rock and roll thing, you know what I mean? It does that, and there's so many times I've caught myself in the past going playing through an amp or a new amp or something like that, or demoing something or whatever, and going thinking, oh, Charlie would love this, and then it's like a smack in the face when you realise he's not here to love it. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, but he's behind me on the wall because I need him there, and yeah, I just need him there. You know. Yeah, I don't really have any more to say, but that's who he is. I do have a video on him, and there is live footage of me and him playing together, and which I'm so grateful for, and there's pictures as well. But But yeah, so that's who that is. That's Charlie Sylvester, Charlie the Wolfman Sylvester, should I say? And yeah, I miss him a lot. I really do. It's one of those horrible facts of life when you don't get to spend time with people like that anymore. It just makes it so much more important. It drills it home so much more of how it's so important to be in the moment and do things that you want to do, and tell people who you care about them, and tell people you love them, and just be yourself, because Charlie was himself, and it's so important to be who you are and not wear a mask, and just he was so awesome. He really was. It really does. It hurts, man. It really hurts. But yeah, so that's who that is. And like I say, there's not a day goes by that I don't think of him. He always appears in my brain when I play guitar at some point. Well, he doesn't appear in my brain. He just appears in the music. The music brings him to me. And with a few other people. But it was man. It was like losing a family member. He wasn't just one of those people that kind of like, you're heartbroken over. It's like, I'm literally broken. When I heard he had passed away, it literally broke me. And it was so sudden, it was so quick as well. It was so hard to cope with. And they were due to come back here to play soon, and so it was just such a smack in the face when none of that happened, and will it happen again? And it difficult. It was. He was. Yeah. But yeah, so that's who he is, and he'll always be with me in one way or another, and yeah. To quote Jimi Hendrix, what is it? I can't even think straight anymore. If I don't see you again in this world, I'll meet you on the next one, but don't be late. Don't copyright that Jimi Hendrix, I'll come around and get you. But yeah, anyway. Alright, okay, I'm going to try and pull myself together now. Certainly God, that's the last question. Because I couldn't doing it more. So anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this Q&A Wednesday, everybody. Sorry, it's kind of took a bit of a weird downturn, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again on Friday for this thing, and we'll speak to Charlie again, and yeah, if you want to submit a question for Q&A Wednesday, description box below as an email link, so just email me there, and yeah, and I'll see you on Friday to just play. Yeah, have a great morning, afternoon, good evening, everybody. I need to go. So, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again. Goodbye now.